Hi there! In today's video, I want to show you how to make white homemade bread for sandwiches or whatever you need. This video is for beginner bread makers who are just wanting to start their homemade bread journey, who like bought bread but want to have healthier choices for their family. This is not healthy bread or anything like that, extra healthy. It's better than store-bought because it has no preservatives, and there's so much you can go off of it to make it healthier, like you can add whole wheat and so on. I am starting to get into sourdough, but I would not consider myself any expert. So for now, this is just plain white bread and how I make it so that beginners can make it too. If you get lost or want the exact instructions, the link to the blog post where I have the recipe written out will be below in the description box. And I hope that starting your bread making journey can feel a little bit less intimidating with what I'll be showing in my recipe here. If you're new here, my name is Melinda and my family and I live in Costa Rica. I have 4 young children. If you've been around a while, you'll see that this is an older video that I filmed some time ago. I just never got it put up, and now that I'm trying to clean up my computer space and all that, then I am finally getting it edited and published. But anyway, let's jump right into the recipe. To start off, I put 2.5 cups of water and 2 cups of milk, or buttermilk often, because I make butter and I have the buttermilk in 2-cup bags in the freezer. I get one of those and put it in my bowl. I let it thaw the day before, and the water should be warm. So if I have frozen buttermilk, well, of course I boil the water so that it melts it up and so that it stays fairly warm. So the recipe is fairly warm. And I also add 1/2 cup of shortening. This can be whether it's just regular oil or some kind of lard or something like that. Just that liquid all melts, and yet that it's not too hot because that burns the yeast, so yeast cannot grow. Just so it's a nice warm temperature. Next, I add 2 tablespoons of yeast, big round tablespoons. Now, yeast you'll want to try a bit. Some kinds of yeast aren't as good as others, and there in the video earlier you saw the kind of yeast we use here in Costa Rica. Some other kinds haven't worked, but you'll just have to test. If they don't grow well, that means you need a different kinds of yeast. If it grows too much, you need less, or just add more yeast if it grows a bit but not enough. For 2 tablespoons of what I have works well for this. And then 1/2 cup of sugar and 4.5 teaspoons of salt, and mix that all up. When you have that, then you just start adding flour. Bread, there's hundreds of ways of making it, thousands of recipes and variations, and different ways that people mix up the dough. Some have a bread machine, some do it differently. Here you can just see how I do it. This white bread always turns out good. My family loves it. It works good for sandwich bread, but it isn't either. I know some people have a much better hand for making bread. I just keep adding flour as needed. First I mix till the spoon can't mix it really, and then I clean off the spoon, and then I just add flour by hand and go kneading it in till it's no longer sticky, and till the dough is nice and smooth but no longer sticky. So bread making is an art you have to learn. You can kind of see the texture of the dough here, but if you're doing it the first time and it doesn't turn out perfectly, I say don't give up, keep trying. Once you've learned to make these simple ones, you can go on to other recipes, or you can go on to learning sourdough or using fresh whole wheat that you grind yourself. That's something I haven't done yet. I don't know here in Costa Rica exactly how I'd get a mill, or if it's available here, the whole grains. It's something I might be interested in trying it, but for now, I'm satisfied with starting to learn to make sourdough. This, what you see in the video, is not sourdough. And my family still isn't totally satisfied with the sourdough. We're trying to learn to make it because it's healthier. But once in a while, they still ask me to make the regular white bread. I do sometimes add some whole wheat flour, not just plain white flour. I think I did in this recipe too. It gives it a little bit more healthy color. I don't know if it's that much healthier. But then once I have it all mixed up and smooth and it's not sticky anymore, I cover it up and let it sit for half to 1 hour. I let it rise. Once it has risen about double in size, I get my bread pans ready. Now, if you don't have bread pans, you can get most any, but I'll have some linked in the post that I have linked below in the description. These are just the ones that I have on hand. The 2 small ones I was given for my wedding. The 2 bigger ones were also a gift. They're homemade ones. And anything should work. Now, you might need to do some trial and error to see how big your bread pans are, how big the bread is that fits in them. For me, I found that if I divide the dough that I made in 3 bunches and then one of the bunches divided in half yet for the 2 smaller pans, then it turns out about perfectly. I press them out, roll them up. My children are always wanting to eat pieces or help. And this is also something that comes with practice. And others do it nicer than me. There's hundreds of ways of making bread. So don't feel, if you are an expert bread maker, please don't criticize this way, because it gives us food. And if you're a beginner, well, learn from this or learn from others till you find the way that works for you and for your family. Once I have formed my loaves, I poke them up with forks so that if there's air bubbles in the loaves, they come out. And then I just let them sit again for about an hour and then bake at 350 for about half an hour. And then they're all good. In this video, it was the next day. If the bread making gets late, then I leave them on the oven overnight. Just covered up because I don't want to cut it up in the night with a noisy bread machine. You can cut them up with a knife too. I was just given this bread knife, electrical bread knife. I'll link one below too, though it's probably not the same one in the article in the description box. If you want a bread knife, because they're really handy, but it was given to us as a wedding gift and I really, really like it. My husband has had to fix it a time or two, but since the bread is quite soft, cutting it with a knife tends to squash it, so this thing works perfectly. It's not necessary, though. You can get along fine just with a knife. It might squash a bit, but if your knife is nice and sharp and you're careful, then you should still be able to get pretty nice slices. I always like to slice my bread before freezing so I can just pull out a few slices at a time. I know there's others who prefer to just stick it whole in the freezer, and then when they're ready to eat, then get it out and warm it up and have fresh sliced bread. But for me, this is what is most efficient and what I like doing. So, again, I'm trying to tell you how to make bread as a beginner, but do your own ideas, learn, practice, and you'll get better at it. Find different recipes or variations to recipes. Sometimes I add ground flax seeds and just things like that. There's all kinds of variations you can do to bread. My children always love to eat fresh bread, so I had some jam that I had made too, and I almost always give them a piece when I'm cutting it up. I love homemade bread when it's fresh and warm out of the oven, and with homemade butter, which I also love to make. That is just really, really good. So if you have any questions about bread making, either comment them below in the article on my blog post or below here in this video, and I hope that you will be able to enjoy fresh homemade bread, because it is really satisfying. And just to know that one is learning to make one's own and not have to depend on bought stuff and avoid the preservatives and all that. It was very good. And then I package them up and freeze them just for whenever I need. This amount of bread lasts 2 to 3 weeks for my family. Some families would use more, some less. But at least it's something they like. It's something homemade. It's something that is good. Have a wonderful time learning to bake bread, and we'll see you in the next video if that interests you. I rarely do baking videos. My videos tend more to be about homemaking and homeschooling and encouragement for Mama's Heart, and a little bit about our life here in Costa Rica. So if any of that interests you, be sure to subscribe. And then we will see you in the next video. Bye.
So that's how it comes out.
Yeah. So it climbs on, just don't touch its wings.
But how can Daddy get him out?
I have to wait and see.